So here we have it, my extremely late thoughts on Rogue One, a Star Wars story. And the reason that I am kind of late with this is honestly I'm not the hugest Star Wars fan, so I wasn't in a big rush to get to the theaters. And I actually ended up deciding that I think, Christmas Day would be a good day to go and see the movie, because it's been a couple years, I think, since I've been to see a movie on Christmas Day. As a matter of fact, I think the last one was probably, it may have been Django Unchained or maybe Wolf of Wall Street. I feel like Wolf of Wall Street might have been a holiday movie as well. I can't remember for sure, but one of those. But regardless, yeah, I just felt like it was a good time to go check it out finally. And I had been avoiding spoilers and everything, even though I kind of felt like this was a movie where spoilers weren't going to be a big issue necessarily, because if you know the Star Wars lore, if you've seen all of the other movies and you know where this one fits in, then you basically know some of what's going to happen anyway. So there's little details, I guess, that you could avoid, but yeah, I really wasn't too concerned about that overall. So yeah, I took my time to go see this movie. And like I said, I am going to share my thoughts here. There will be some minor spoilers. I'm not going to give away every little thing about the movie. I'm going to try to make this quick, as a matter of fact. So if you haven't seen the movie, this wouldn't completely ruin it for you. But at the same time, I think we'll gear this towards more people who have seen it, though. So let's go ahead and get to it. So for starters here, I want to start off with the strengths of the movie. And let me be clear about this as well. This is really just sharing my thoughts. I don't really consider this so much a review, just because I'm not going to put a grade or a score to it. I don't normally do that on my channel. So again, this is just my thoughts, and I do want to start off with the strengths of the movie. So as far as the standout character goes, once again, we have a Star Wars movie where a droid is a standout. And I don't think it's necessarily because it's easy to accomplish that. Actually, I think it can be difficult. But, the makers of Star Wars, they just know how to make it work. So, Alan Tudyk as K2SO did a great job. And if you don't know, it's not his first time playing this type of character. He was the main character in iRobot, or at least the main robot in that movie. He did a great job there as well. So I really liked that this character worked, and he didn't feel like any of the other droids. His personality was definitely unique. So he also added some levity to the movie, which was greatly needed. And definitely was grateful for that. And I would say pretty much all of the humor came from him. I can't really think of anywhere else where there were any laughs, or at least laughs that actually landed. So yeah, he was a great presence within the movie. And also I would say that, he had some strength about him too. He was actually worthwhile in combat. I like that he could do different things for them. He was a pilot. He could get information for them. He could actually fought back. So yeah, he just worked in great ways as a character. Now the battle scenes in this movie, I know this could be very debatable, but I think overall probably had the best battle scenes out of any Star Wars movie. Now there are definitely scenes in other movies that stand above anything that they did in this movie, but I'm just saying overall it really felt like legitimate battles. Like it felt very much like it was influenced by Vietnam almost. Like they may have looked at some Vietnam War footage, or just movies based on Vietnam, and that's really the impression I got. And I might be saying Vietnam just because one of the main locations, that island, it just kind of reminded me of what Vietnam actually looks like. So yeah, I really felt like I was watching a war movie, that was great. That worked out that well. And also, I'll say this as well. This movie probably had the smallest amount of lightsaber usage, and it really wasn't that missed. Now, when it did happen, it was amazing, as brief as it was. But they really did show that a Star Wars movie doesn't have to give you exactly the same type of action every time. I mean, of course, there were some things that were pretty familiar, like the AT-ATs, of course, and there were some things that were similar to other movies, but at the same time, like, it just felt down and dirty, and I really liked that about it. And continuing with a focus on the battle scenes, the space battle as well, like, that really did get me hyped, and again, it just felt more realistic, I think, than it has in maybe some other movies, and I really like certain things that they did with the space battle and how it felt so coordinated and strategic, and people were taking risks. Yeah, it just worked. It really did work well. And also within, I'm kind of jumping ahead here, but I guess I'll go in and say that in relation to the Death Star, which was a big focus of the movie, I felt like they tried to tie up a plot hole that's been long kind of teased. A lot of people have teased Star Wars about it. The first movie, which was actually Episode 4. Yeah, a lot of people kind of tease how vulnerable the Death Star ended up being, and I do like that they put a reason behind that. Now, it's a very, we're talking about decades later that they finally explained that, but yeah, I think it was still cool that they actually worked that in, and it was a big part of the plot overall. I also felt like this movie, more so than some of the others, had effective villains. Now, of course, this movie's going to get a lot of comparisons to The Force Awakens, and I think that's fair. I mean, because these are the modern Star Wars movies, and I did actually like Kylo Ren. I actually think he's a pretty cool character, and I really want to see where they go with him. And I can understand some people maybe not liking him quite as much, but for this particular movie, I felt like the villains were effective overall. For once, the stormtroopers and then also the death troopers, which look really cool. I felt like they were more like soldiers. I mean, they actually had aim for once. They just felt like more of a threat, and they also felt like more of a I guess a police force, or you could say a military force that's kind of really dug in. Yeah, their presence was just more felt. And then also the actor that played the main villain, I've seen him in other movies before. I know I've seen him in 2 movies. He was in a movie with where Brad Pitt played a hitman, and I wish I could remember the name of it off the top of my head, but he was great in that. And the guy just has range. Also, I believe he was the same actor. He played a small villainous role in The Dark Knight Rises as well. I think that's where I also have seen him. And yeah, he just has range to him. He could play a very slummy type of villain, and then also a more kind of upscale, high class type of villain. And he does well with both. And I just liked his presence. I mean, I think he delivered really well in this movie. And like I said, it's finally great to see the stormtroopers and then also those death troopers really feeling threatening. And because this movie is basically surrounding what you might as well call a suicide mission, I mean, it really gave more cred to I guess the stormtroopers and their force, being as effective as they were. And no surprise here, this is really not a spoiler, because I mean, of course, they put him in the trailers early on. They let it be known that Darth Vader was going to have a presence in this movie. It did basically amount out to a cameo. I mean, for people that haven't seen it, again, if you don't want to be spoiled at all, definitely check out on the video. But Darth Vader essentially had, I think, just 2 scenes, but they were both really effective scenes. James Earl Jones, I don't know how they could keep doing it with his voice, because I feel like his voice has changed some over time, but maybe I have to do like a side-by-side comparison to really hear a difference, but he just sounded like he always does to me, and I thought that was good. The look of the character, I'm glad they stayed true to what it has been, because it wouldn't have made sense if they switched it up at all. As a matter of fact, I'll say the look of the movie altogether, I probably could have put this as a separate positive. I think the look of the movie worked really well, because it stayed true to the time period where it takes place within the Star Wars universe, and yet at the same time things were slicker. Of course, modern technology was used, but I don't feel like they included anything that didn't quite make sense. Like if you look at the prequels, there's so much in the prequels that doesn't make sense. It makes it seem like technology altogether went backwards in the galaxy, and in the Star Wars galaxy, and it just really didn't make sense, you know. So they kind of overdid it in the prequels, whereas this was much more grounded, and like I said, it fit in with the original trilogy. So, you know, everything with the look of the movie worked, and like I said, Darth Vader, especially his final scene, wow. Like, I actually want to see that scene again already, you know, and I'm pretty sure somebody's already put it up and they're not supposed to on YouTube, but yeah, I really wouldn't mind seeing that scene again, because Darth Vader doing his thing, it's like, you know, it just really reminds you of why he is such a great screen villain. And I will say also, there were some other cool cameos, and I like that they were brief. They didn't try to completely steal the show with them. So yeah, I thought the cameos were actually effective as well. Now I'm going to get into the weaknesses, and by the way, I know already some people are pointing out, you know, probably in your minds, or you literally saying it out loud, some of the strengths that I missed, but let me say this to be very clear. I know that there were a lot of references in this movie that I just didn't get, and it's because I haven't followed the Clone Wars series. I didn't watch, I know there was another Star Wars series that a lot of people were into, and you know, there's been books and all these sorts of things that kind of filled in time gaps, but I just watched the Star Wars movies, that's it. And I don't feel like I should have to know all this other material to get the most out of the movie. That's really not the way it should work. And that's not the way that it works with other franchises either. You know, it's like you think about the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Okay, of course, if you know the comics, you're going to get more out of those movies. You'll pick up references and things like that, but you don't have to know that material to enjoy those movies. It's just like also another example, you know, Deadpool came out this year. You don't know, you have to know anything at all about Deadpool before watching that movie to be able to enjoy it. I mean, I watched that with a friend of mine, and she didn't know anything about his background, but she learned it all from that movie, and of course they made changes, but still, she was able to enjoy that movie without getting a bunch of different references and things. So yeah, that references can add to it, but it doesn't make a movie. So I do want to be very clear about that I'm just looking at the movies themselves. So go ahead, I'm going to go ahead and get into the weaknesses here now that I feel there were. I definitely feel like the biggest problem of this movie were underdeveloped characters. I felt like I wasn't really pulling for much of anybody in this movie. Because there was nobody I really gravitated towards, and that to me is really a huge problem. And I don't have a bunch of weaknesses, I would say, towards the movies, but that one is major though. Okay, so you think about the lead characters played by Felicity Jones, and I forget the other actor's name, but again, I've seen a lot of his work. He had a great movie with John C. Reilly called I think it was called Criminal. That was a really good movie about you know, some confidence men, hustlers basically. And yeah, he's an actor that I've really respected for a good while, but neither one of these actors were really just given enough in this movie for me. I'll say with Jen Erso's character, she started off, there was some depth there. I did like the flashback scenes, you know, when she was younger and everything, but I felt like it just wasn't followed through enough. There wasn't enough impact altogether. Now, I still respect the character. She's a character that could definitely handle herself, and I like that. She can handle herself in combat. You know, she has confidence, but there are still some other issues with the character too, like her turn from just not caring at all about being a part of that, you know, the rebellion, and then all of a sudden she's making a grand speech in front of the council. It felt like way too quick of a character turn, and I think the Star Wars series overall is kind of guilty of that. Characters kind of turning on a dime. So yeah, that bugged me some. And then I believe his name is Cassian, the other main character. Just really no background given to him in this movie. Again, if people know him from other lore, from other series, that's cool for them. But for me, watching this movie, you know, there was a moment where I felt like maybe he was going to talk some about his past, and he just didn't. So the character just kind of felt like he was there. He was basically like Han Solo if you stripped away all charisma, basically. And I know that sounds like a shot at the actor, but it's really not, because it's in the writing, and it just wasn't there for his character, and that's very unfortunate. And moving on here with some other characters, these two characters to me, and I'm not going to try to say their names are ridiculous, honestly, ridiculous type of Star Wars names, that you can easily butcher, but yeah, they felt very forced in to the movie. I mean, extremely forced in to be a part of the crew. It's like they were just suddenly there, and I was kind of hyped to see that Donnie Yen was going to be in this movie. I'm like, yeah, that'd be very cool to see more martial arts brought into the Star Wars universe. We've seen some of it before with Ray Park as Darth Maul. We've seen a little bit of it before, but I was really looking forward to it. And I mean, he basically did have one cool sequence, but that was about it. And then the other character being like a heavy weapons expert, I mean, he was alright, but there was just no depth to either of these characters. And that sort of mantra that they kept repeating, it got annoying for me very quickly. I was like, please, like whenever they started that, I was like, just please shut up. Like, it just really bugged me. And I get what they were going for with that, keeping that element of the Force within it, but it just didn't work well for me. And these characters overall just didn't work well for me. And then more talent in this movie. There was a lot of talent in this movie, but again, just not given a lot to do. I was looking forward to, Forrest Whitaker, and again, just not really enough there for him to work with. Same for these other actors that you see here. And I mean, Mads Mikkelsen, what a year for this guy, because he's been in two hugely successful movies, but neither one of his characters really had much depth to them. So, I mean, and the other movie, in case you don't know, of course, he was in Doctor Strange, where he played Caecilius. Not a lot of depth to that character either, so that's unfortunate. I mean, and again, I like the flashback sequences with him, but it just didn't pan out overall, so. And Jimmy Smits, these Star Wars movies, he feels like very much like a character that's just there, not a whole lot to him. And also with the Imperial pilot who ended up turning, I can't remember the character's name or the actor's name, but I feel like there was sort of a plot hole there, because Forrest Whitaker's character was trying to get some information from him using this alien that was supposed to, there's supposed to be a side effect of damaging his mind. Like, I believe Forrest Whitaker said it could actually drive people mad. Well, his character was confused for a little bit, and then he seemed perfectly fine after that. And I was like, well, I didn't quite understand that. It just felt like a plot hole to me. Like, how did he just break out of that and get past it in almost no time? It was very weird to me. So, I don't know, maybe I missed something. Somebody can clue me in on that, but it just felt like a plot hole to me. And I feel like and this was something that was bound to happen, that because of the basic plot of the movie and where this movie fits into the Star Wars timeline, I felt like there was just bound to be a lack of dramatic weight, because we basically already know what happens. So, I don't know if there was a way around. Well, I would say I think a way around that would have been to have deeper characters and add more dramatic weight in that way, what's going on with the characters. But this movie very much focused on getting the plans for the Death Star. I mean, they really, really heavily focused on that, when I don't think they needed to lean on that as much as they did, because I mean, it was understood that was going to be successful anyway. We already know that from the other movies. So yeah, I felt like they should have put their focus more so on the characters, but they really stuck to that focus of the plans, and I felt like the movie was not better for it. So yeah, that's the only way I could think that they could have fixed that problem, and I hope it's not a problem with some of the other prequels that they plan to do. So of course, I want to hear from you all. What did you think of Rogue One, if you have seen it? And if you haven't seen it, I hope I didn't ruin too much of it for you. Of course, I don't know why anybody would watch, a review or even on just, thoughts about the movie without having seen it yet, unless you really just aren't concerned about being spoiled. But Yeah, I definitely want to hear, for those of you that have seen it, I want to hear what you think about it. And please give me more than just I liked it. I mean, break it down for me. Why did you like it? What did you enjoy about it? And I do want to be clear, I'm not completely putting the movie down. I'm really not doing that, but I feel like this is a movie maybe more so for hardcore Star Wars fans, and especially ones that are more familiar with some of the other material like the Clone Wars and I believe it's Star Wars Rebels. That's the series I was trying to think of earlier. But yeah, if you're more familiar with that material, maybe you got a lot more out of it than I did, which is fine. But yeah, I really want to hear what you liked about the movie, and also if you saw any weaknesses in it as well, let me know. And then I also want to hear from you. Are you looking forward to more prequels? We know that there's a Han Solo movie that's being worked on. It's already got casting in place, and I'm really not sure where else they're going to go with it as far as prequels are concerned. But yeah, just let me know your thoughts, and same as always, you respect my opinions, I respect yours. Let's just get a conversation going. And yeah, I'm going to go ahead and wrap this up because this definitely ended up being longer than I thought. But I guess I just want to make sure that it was very clear to you all that I'm not completely downing this movie, but I'm not blown away either. As a matter of fact, I'll say that I did enjoy The Force Awakens a lot more. I felt like The Force Awakens had more interesting new characters in there, and it just had a lot more levity to it. It was just a more fun movie all around for me, personally. I felt like maybe Rogue One took itself maybe a little bit too serious, and yeah, that pretty much sums it up for me. But yeah, I look forward to hearing your feedback. I definitely will reply back to you, and you all take care. Till next time.